Today is February the 16th. How many is enough? Gideon found out in a very unusual way. How? Let's find out together as we study Judges chapter 7. So in Judges chapter 6, God calls Gideon to lead Israel against the Midianites. Now, the Israel that he led against the Midianites was actually the tribe of Manasseh. We find that out in verse 35 of chapter 6. He sent messengers throughout Manasseh, Asher, Zebulun, and Naphtali, summoning their warriors, and all of them responded. That's the army that Gideon amassed. A large army, we find out in chapter 7, verse 3, that there were 33,000 soldiers who came. Not professional soldiers, but farmers, other men of the area who came to fight with Midian. We found out later that he also called Ephraim into the battle. Do you remember in Deborah, we saw 40,000 that included these tribes in Zebulun? The numbers are pretty consistent there. But they were going up against a Midianite tribe that had far more people than they did. In chapter 8, verse 10, we're told that 15,000 warriors were left after 120,000 had been killed. 135,000. Now, these are all probably not warriors. This was a nomadic tribe. It's likely that when they invaded Israel to take over crops and livestock, that it wasn't just fighting men that they took. They took with them people to take care of the herds, to guard the crops that they had. So 135 in their army, but it was more like people to just kind of keep track of the booty that they were looking at. So here were 32,000 people going up against over 100,000 enemies. The interesting thing is that in verse 2, the Lord said to Gideon, "You have too many warriors with you." I'm sure as Gideon looked at the number of men he had and the number of men the enemy had, he wasn't thinking he had too many. He was thinking he didn't have enough. "If I let you fight the Midianites, the Israelites will boast to me that they saved themselves by their own strength." So the Lord said, "Tell the people, whoever's timid or afraid may leave this mountain and go home." 22,000 left. Only 10,000 were left behind. The Lord looked and said, "It's still too many." This time he did something again, just a little bit different. In verse 5, he said, "Take your men after a march to the spring." Verse 5, when Gideon took his warriors down to the water, the Lord told him, "Divide the men into two groups. In one group put all those who cup water in their hands and lap it up with their tongues like dogs. In the other group put all those who kneel down and drink with their mouths in the stream." All the others got down on their knees. They drank with their mouths in the stream. Only 300 raised the water to their lips to drink. The Lord said, "Those are the 300 I want to fight." Gideon marched into battle after having had 32,000 men with only 300. Now, these weren't the 300 Spartans. Do you remember when Zach preached about Shamgar? He told us what Sparta was like. Professional soldiers, trained all their life for war. That's not what these guys were. These guys went into war as farmers, as blacksmiths, as merchantmen, as plain, ordinary folk. The Lord said to Gideon, verse 7, with these 300 men, I'll rescue you and give you victory over the Midianites. He sent everybody else home. Now he kept all of the provisions and ram horns of the other warriors. So he kept all of the best weapons and the horns of the 32,000 who had left. Keep that in mind. The night came, and the Lord said to Gideon, get up, go down into the Midianite camp, for I've given you victory over him. Gideon got up, he took a servant with him, and he went down to eavesdrop, to listen to the Midianites. The Midianites, one of the men had a dream, and it was spreading through the whole camp. In his dream, a loaf of barley was the crop that Israel was reaping at the time. A loaf of barley came rolling down the mountain and knocked over all the tents of the Midianite camp. The man who had the dream said, this is God telling us that Gideon will come and destroy us. He'll knock down our tents just like the barley loaf has. Verses 19 and 20. It was just after midnight, after the changing of the guard, when Gideon and the 100 men with him reached the edge of the Midianite camp. Now, he had divided his camp, his army, into 3 sections, each one with 100. Every man held a torch in his left hand with a clay plot to keep the torch from shining, and a horn in his right hand. And when Gideon gave the signal, they broke the clay pot, held the torch high, blew the horn, and the Midianites thought that what was happening was that each torch and each horn represented not an individual, but a division of Gideon's army. They thought they were being attacked by the 32,000 and maybe more. They began running around, they ran into each other, they drew their swords, they just started attacking whoever was in front of them. And they literally killed themselves in the panic. Verses 23 to 25. Then Gideon sent for the warriors of Naphtali, Asher, and Manasseh, who joined in chasing the army of Midian. Gideon also sent messengers throughout the hill country of Ephraim, saying, come down to attack the Midianites. Cut them off at the shallow crossing of the Jordan River at Bethbara. So Gideon sent for the rest of the army once the Midianites began to flee. He chased them down with all of his warriors and began to kill them. Tomorrow we'll see what happens as he does that. But today, let's answer the question that we started with. How many is enough? 32,000 seemed small. God thought it was too big. So he trimmed that to 10,000. I'm sure Gideon thought only 10,000 against this enemy? That is minuscule. And the Lord said, oh no, it's still too many. And cut them to 300. How many is enough? With God, what you have is enough. Don't wait for reinforcements to do that thing that you felt God calling you to do. Just get about doing it. Go to the program that you listen to this devotional on. Like, follow, subscribe, and share with your friends. If you have questions for us, send them to questions@becomehope.com. Tomorrow, we'll see the problem with Gideon.